Broadcasting live from Accra in our studios and also on your digital terrestrial TV. We're free to air on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. This is The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. It's independent, fearless and credible. Coming up on The Pulse this afternoon, Galamsey Kingpin Aisha Huang may have to stay longer behind bars as state prosecutors continue to carry out further investigations on her alleged involvement in illegal mining. This afternoon, we get you the latest, plus hear from our reporters on the ground. Also, Ghana Medical Association is jumping to the defense of the Medical and Dental Council over the controversial decision to bar prospective doctors returning from war-torn Ukraine to practice on grounds of flawed virtual trainings. We'll hear from the Doctors' Union, which is arguing that the decision was taken in the interest of public safety.
You release one half-baked or one half-trained doctor is a danger to everybody in this country. And we medical trainers or educators are conscious of that fact, that my student may be the one operating on me tomorrow. And so we are hopeful that they will take the best decision in the interest of everybody.
There's more from the Ghana Medical Association. Meanwhile, JoyNews is learning of a scheduled meeting by the Education Ministry for further discussions on this matter. We'll get you the latest. Negotiations are continuing on Ghana's austerity plan with the International Monetary Fund. This afternoon on The Pulse, we get reactions to fears that the country's predictions and preconditions of securing a debt restructuring could be shifting out of gear. We'll hear from government side, plus get you the latest on the negotiations. This is The Pulse, as always brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. I am Blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. We'll take you into our story shortly. So let's give you the latest on the Chinese kingpin Aisha Huang, who's been accused of engaging in illegal mining. Well, she'll be spending the next 2 weeks in police custody as she was denied bail for the second time. Trial judge Samuel Bright had some strong comments about illegal mining, urging the courts to take a strong stance on the matter. Ms. Huang and 3 others are accused of engaging in illegal mining and also engaging in the sale of minerals without a license. Well, they have pleaded not guilty to the charges, but remain in police custody. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has been monitoring proceedings for us.
There are 2 cases pending against Aisha Huang at the courts. One filed by the Attorney General himself at the High Court and another by police prosecutors at the Circuit Court. The Circuit Court had on September 14 remanded all 4 accused persons to police custody. Lawyers for the accused made another application for bail on Tuesday. Lead counsel Efadate, who had earlier claimed the offense were not serious, continued in that regard.
The media has overhyped this small matter of mining without license and doing mineral sales without license. It's a small matter. It happens every day in Ghana. So I don't see why the media should even write an editorial on this matter.
He told the court not even the president, the attorney general, or any other person can fault the court should it grant bail. He questioned why investigators needed more than a month to investigate a simple matter. Prosecutors, however, stated that investigations have revealed that the accused persons entered the country illegally. This, they argued, was sufficient basis for one to conclude that a grant of bail is not necessary. The judge dismissed the bail request and proceeded to make the following comments.
This is an activity that is destroying our water bodies. Look at how it is destroying our forest. We, the humans, are complaining. The animals in the forest are suffering. It's very sad. If we should allow this to go on, Ghana Water Company Limited says they will soon shut down their machines. We will have to import water to drink. The courts and everyone must take a strong stance. A1 especially, how she entered the country. She can't even tell. If I grant her bail and tomorrow the case is called and she can't be found, what happens? The motion for bail is refused.
The case is back in court on October 12th. For JoyNews from the Circuit Court, my name is Joseph Akable.
Well, Joseph, there with the latest. Let's bring in Awila Sawa, who's co-founder of the Eco-Conscious Citizens GH. And Awila, of course, you have some understanding to the law. So in a rather unconventional way, we're finding a judge make some pronouncements even before judgment on this case. Some feel this will be prejudicial to the case, given the fact that the judge is not pleased with the fact that we're beginning to suffer as a result of activities of illegal mining. We have not convicted Aisha Huang, yet that's been a basis for which she would have to remain in police custody. Is it normal in the practice of law?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Yes, I mean, we know that a person is innocent until proven guilty, but it's not uncommon for a person to be denied bail whilst investigations are going on. What we hope is that the investigations will be conducted speedily so that the trial can begin. And after all the evidence is brought before the court, it will be up to the court to either acquit her or convict her. That is the duty of the court. The police need to complete their investigations, but we hope that they do that sooner rather than later.
Find a judge being stern, I should say, on issues of illegal mining, and in fact going ahead to ask the court to be tougher on some of these issues of illegal mining. It appears that there's some role for even the bench or our judicial system to play in this. You agree?
Well, I mean, the only thing the court can do is to look at the evidence before them, and then based on the evidence, they will have to make a ruling whether the person is innocent or guilty. That is the role of the court. It is good that we are all, every Ghanaian, every right-thinking Ghanaian should be very much concerned about the state of our water bodies. It's unacceptable. But as we keep saying, this whole matter of illegal mining doesn't start and end with Aisha Huang or illegal miners. There is a network going on. How, if they are Ghanaians, how do they get the equipment they have, and why are the authorities standing idly by whilst they go ahead? If they are foreigners, how do they get into the country? They don't just waltz in unless our borders are so porous, but they do get into the country. How does the equipment get in? So there's a whole network. How is the gold disposed of? And we need to dismantle the network if we seriously want to get to the root of this matter so that the galamsey can stop, and then we can start restoration of our water bodies. But let me also be clear that even with the legal mining, we need to make sure that all the protocols are being followed. Because even though we can't see, it's not only when the water is brown that there's something wrong. It could be nice and clear. It doesn't mean that there are no hazardous substances within the water if the water is not being properly disposed of.
I want to bring you back to the issue about the concerns of the lawyers for Aisha Huang and the three others. The issue regarding her safety and the fact that she's been denied some sort of an access. The last time I spoke to a father who happens to be lawyer for Aisha Huang, let's just take a listen to some of the concerns he raised.
Is not accepting anything to the fact that she is influencing anybody in decision making, or she has the capacity to interfere with investigations, or that she is fond of trying to undermine justice. I don't have any evidence to that. And she tells me that she has not done anything like that. And so, well, I don't know what to say, apart from the fact that as a lawyer, I'll do the best I can together with my team of lawyers to defend her, to get bail for her, to let her return to her normal life in Ghana.
How are you proceeding with this case as counsel for this very accused? There are some, for instance, a very revered Professor Ening, talking about the possible fact that she may be working on behalf of a foreign government. You know her to be a business person. There are claims of espionage in this case, the fact that she's a spy, destroying territorial integrity. Are you working in tandem with the Chinese government, and is there any influence externally on this case?
I'm sorry, but your question is, I'm sorry, your question is neither here nor there. Your question is neither here nor there. It says, my client is a Chinese national. She has been accused of mining without license and selling minerals without license. This has nothing to do with Ghana-China relationship. This has nothing to do with Ghana's territorial integrity or protection of Ghanaian natural resources or something. It is the duty of the police to prove the charges against my client. And when the opportunity comes up, it is their responsibility to line up witnesses, to swear an oath to tell the truth, and to give evidence showing that on such and such a day, they saw Aisha Huang doing this act or doing this business which is inimical to the interests of Ghana, reference the charge sheet. And I'll give them a battle of their lives with cross-examination. And I have no doubt in my mind that the court will acquit and discharge my clients.
Interesting times ahead in court. In fact, I just want to pick up on what you told the media right after proceedings in court today. You said that this was a small matter, I mean, quote unquote. For some, that goes to suggest that it's as though you are not aware of the consequences of illegal mining on our environment. And in fact, you belong to a political party who's had its leader, the president, put his presidency on the line to fight illegal mining. Why underestimate the potential damage illegal mining is causing to this nation?
Well, if you quoted me as saying illegal as a small matter, it is because since I became a lawyer, the only offense or charge that I am scared of is murder. Apart from murder cases, for me, as a practicing court-going lawyer, all other criminal charges are relatively small matters.
Well, that's the justification from a lawyer.
I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Yeah, so that's the justification from Efadate on this, that this is much more of a small case that we're dealing with.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a small case. I mean, you rightly talked about the consequences of illegal mining. All I would say is that any person is innocent until proven guilty. But I wouldn't say it's a small matter. In fact, the consequences of illegal mining could lead to deaths. Because if you're releasing poisonous substances into the waters and people are drinking it, the fish are having it and so on and so forth, it could lead to a whole nation being poisoned. So I wouldn't describe it as a small matter. But yes, anybody is innocent until proven guilty. The investigation should be speedily carried out. She should be tried. And based on the evidence, we would hope to get the right verdict.
And finally, government somewhere last week put out a raft of measures they intend to roll out as part of moves to scale up the fight against illegal mining. You've looked at some of the issues being pointed out by the sector minister, Samuel Abujinapo, on that. Are you convinced that these measures will be effective?
Not at all. I mean, I saw one of what we've said, Arocha Environmental Club said, stop all mining in forest reserves. When I looked at one of the measures that was taken, there was something opening the door, something to the effect of exceptional cases. There's no exceptional case. There should be no mining whatsoever in forest reserves and close to water bodies. Because you see, we're undermining the whole fight ourselves. And it is not, that is why I keep on saying that this Aisha Huang case is not the end or beginning of the matter. We have our house to put in order. The Chinese don't just come into the country. Who allows them in? Who allows any individual to engage in mining, whether legal or illegal? So what I'm saying, so, to mining in forest reserves, that's my take. I'm very disappointed about that.
Anyway, Olasawa, thank you so much for your time here on the JoyNews channel. Well, the Ministry of Education will in the next 24 hours convene another round of interagency dialogue on the absorption of Ghanaian students returning from war-torn Ukraine. The meeting actually comes in the wake of reports that final year, all prospective doctors who did their practical component of their professional course virtually due to the outbreak of the war in Russia and Ukraine, obviously, will not be allowed here in Ghana to practice. Now, according to the Medical and Dental Council, the explanation we're getting is that September 16 was the final assessment date, which means that for now the doors have been shut to all students, especially final year ones, to participate in a test that was organized for the returnee students to be absorbed into the system. And that's beginning to create some problems. Meanwhile, the Ghana Medical Association is backing the move by the Medical and Dental Council, describing the move as one in the interest of public safety. Here's the General Secretary of the group, Titus Bayer.
True that the Medical and Dental Council is refusing to recognize certificate or people who trained in Ukraine. Facts, as we have been informed and are aware of, is that when the war broke out, the Medical and Dental Council initiated talks to see how we can help our colleagues who are schooling in Ukraine, whose training may be truncated because of this war. And together with government and other stakeholders like deans of the medical schools in Ghana, both public and private, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, some officials from the Office of the President have been working for months to see how we can integrate these students. They were given an opportunity to bring their transcripts and certificate of verification, and a committee was asked to go through that. I'm informed that some did not submit any document at all, but those who submitted were asked to go through a placement exam. This is to help us know what level they can be placed in the private and public medical schools in Ghana. And this exam was done for about 100 or so students, but some people did not take this option available to them at all and opted that they want to do the course online. So if you read the directive of the Medical and Dental Council, which the Medical Association supports, is that nobody can study medicine online and be allowed to write a licensing exam. Medicine is a practical course. You have your theory, you have the clinical that must go with it. And it is a global regulatory standard. Nobody, no country allows people to study medicine online. So it's either you integrate into the medical schools in Ghana through the placement exam that was given, which you will be trained to have the practical sessions of medicine, and then you can then write the licensing exam. Or you can choose to school anywhere else in the world, but it has to be a practical course in an accredited institution. And then when you complete that, you can write the licensing exam. We cannot allow people to do the program online and then write a licensing exam. And I think that is what the MDC has put out, and it's for the sake of public safety. So I am yet to see any system, developed system in any part of the world that permits virtual training of medical students. So there's no advanced system yet, to our knowledge, that allows medical to train virtually. If you go to the US, to the UK, to China, Europe, nowhere is there any advanced system that allows virtual training of medical students. Medicine is a practical course, and medicine has geographic specification. It is a reason why even if you train in the US, in the UK, and you want to practice in another country, you must write the licensing exam of that country for us to be sure that you are conversant with medical conditions in that country. As for advanced systems that will allow people to do medicine virtually, please, let us not kid ourselves. They should show us any country where virtual training is permitted in the advanced world, where people can sit and train virtually and get themselves licensed. It is not done anywhere, and I don't think we should permit that to be done here. We've been hit by an unexpected situation, which is the war, and we are doing everything to place our colleagues and students. They should use the opportunities offered, but not try to bring in things that are not done. I don't see any system. Thank you.
Okay.
Every parent who is anxious at this moment must be informed that the government and the regulatory agency, that is the Ghana Medical and Dental Council, the stakeholders like the medical schools in Ghana, private and public, have all come together to help manage this crisis. Some people have refused to use this avenue and are choosing things that are non-existent. And so if they do not use that avenue, the only avenue available now is to go to the medical school in Ghana here or any other part of the world as they so desire. But the practice of medicine has been time-tested and the training has gone through series of evolution. We have not yet reached a point where anybody can have medicine virtually in terms of training. So advise your wards accordingly Let them submit themselves to the system so that they are properly trained to work as doctors that will save lives. There are no shortcuts to this, and you cannot have an alternative other than the bedside, the clinic, the patients, and training that will make you a good doctor. And I'm not sure any parents want to have their wards come out as not properly trained who would harm other human beings. We are aware that government has been part of all this arrangement, that government has been part of the processes that has led to the placement of our colleagues, and I think that fact must always come out. They wrote these exams for free. They didn't have to pay for the exam because of the situation they find themselves in. And whatever discussion government is going to hold through the education ministry, I'm conscious, and I'm sure they are also conscious of the fact that medicine is about life. And so they'll take the best decisions in the interest of the country. Let's remember, if you release one half-baked or one half-trained doctor, he's a danger to everybody in this country. And we medical trainers or educators are conscious of that fact, that my student may be the one operating on me tomorrow. And so we are hopeful that they will take the best decision in the interest of everybody. But the principles of sound medical training will be applied.
Well, let's get more on this because JoyNews is learning of a scheduled meeting by the Education Ministry to further discuss some matters relating to this. Let's first of all give you a sense of members of this Ukraine Students Absorption Committee set up by the Education Ministry. So we do know that there's obviously representation from the Students' Representative Councils, the SRCs involved in this for the various public universities. There's also officials of the Ministry of Education, that of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. The Health Ministry is also concerned about this matter, and they'll be engaged in that meeting relating to the absorption of the Ukrainian students. There's also the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, and the Medical and Dental Council. The Ghana Scholarship Secretariat obviously comes through because some of the students, a majority of them, as we understand, are benefiting from the scholarship scheme that was happening prior to the outbreak of the war, and now that the absorption would have to happen, they would be part of the engagements tomorrow. The vice chancellors of all medical schools, as well as the rector of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, amongst other stakeholders, will also be representing tomorrow in that meeting. So let's bring in now Opoku Mensah, who's deputy spokesperson at the Ministry of Education. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. The last time this group met, obviously there were some recommendations that were put across to cater for the Ukrainian returnees, most of them being medical students. What recommendations did you do in terms of how they should be absorbed into the various universities?
Yeah, that is part of what the narration has been. We give them the opportunity to go through the process. And the opportunity that was given out was to ascertain what level of engagement that they have there. That will determine where they should be placed. And it's very simple, just like we do if you are moving from one school to the other, where you are examined on the class that you want to move on. And the process will have to ensure that you do qualify for that particular class before you are allowed to progress. And if you don't qualify in that is the grade that you're seeking for, then you have to be at the grade that you are, so that we can have a smooth system. And that opportunity has been given out to our brothers and sisters who unfortunately came out from that country. Now, GTEC has gone through all the process, examined the documents before them, and the recommendation has been made, and the process, just as it was indicated by the previous speakers about the examination to ascertain their level. And the fact that you went through the process does not mean that somebody is being taken out. What the process means is to determine the level, whether if you are first year, second year, third year, or final year, so that we can rightfully place those individuals at their rightful class, so that we can have a smooth system running. And that is where the process has got into. And it was an opportunity to give given to all the prospective students from the Ukraine to be integrated into our system and continue our education. So that is where we've got into. And as you indicated, tomorrow we are meeting to look at the modalities and bring finality and closure to the whole arrangement.
Let's talk about those outstanding students who are being affected as a result of this directive from the Dental and Medical Council. Do we know how many students are involved now? And given the fact that some parents may be anxious, wondering what the future holds for these students, what would be that position from the Education Ministry on that to them?
I don't think it would be necessary to jump the gun now, since we'll be meeting tomorrow. Now we know those that fall on our list, or those that have been engaged. Mind you, this was an opportunity that was given out. It's not as if somebody is being coerced to take a wish out of what they don't desire. So you will have to decide on your own whether you want to be part of the process or not. So that is what government did to engage, and that is why you have a representative from each outfit as part of the whole process. So currently, we, as to those who are affected, whatever, do not come in for now. The opportunity was given out to all those that were officially brought into the country, and those that will want to integrate into our system, so that they will be able to have their heart desire of becoming doctors in future. And that is where the focus was, and that is where we've got into. So let's wait for tomorrow. Our stakeholders again. We look at all the deliberations and see how best we can bring finality to the whole conversation.
In terms of the students affected, I'm sure that perhaps there may be some who are not reading courses relating to medicine. So how are you providing for such groups as well? Because it appears that you're just involving chancellors of all the medical institutions and the colleges of physicians and surgeons. What are you doing to cater for those who may not be reading medicine?
No, it's a whole package. It's a whole package for all our brothers and sisters who came from that part of the country. And because the medical thing has become a topical issue, that's why we are engaging. So that is why the focus probably has been on what we're talking about, not necessarily that they are out of the equation. No, it's a whole inclusive package, and the Ministry of Education is determined to ensure that whoever deserves education receive it, irrespective of where you're coming from, and provided you meet the criteria or the qualification for you to pursue your dream. So that is what we are doing. But just that the focus of medicine has become a topical issue, that is why it's warranted that we do engage on that line to bring our stakeholders involved to see a smooth process in there. The other subject area, programs in this adaptation isn't as difficult as probably one may think. It's easy to adapt in there, provided the documents are valid and GTEC going through the document and seeing that you do qualify, and therefore you can continue from that line. So,
and it's important, and it's very instructive that you're raising concerns about how easy it is to adapt with other courses and not when it comes to medicine. And that's where some experts are raising concern that you may compromise on the quality, because we're not too sure of how to properly integrate these people who have been learning in different systems, in different universities, trying to find the standard places for them within the same framework in terms of our education system may compromise some level of quality. And this has got to do with public safety. It's part of the concerns that the Medical Association is raising. How are you ensuring that you do not compromise quality of the type of doctors that may be churned out?
The association is re-echoing what the process have been. And you and I know, within the final years of the medical training, it's purely practical, as it was indicated. So that is why it's important that GTEC goes through the process, and the other relevant bodies are also involved in the whole process. Nobody will want to compromise on quality. The standards are set out, the criteria are met. That is why it is important that we do determine the level of every prospective student within that category, so that we can still maintain the quality and the standards that we're all looking for. Standards cannot be compromised on the basis that I'm coming from a war-torn country. So therefore, we need to lower the standards for everybody. That is not what we do at our end, and that is not what we do in this country. we stick to the status quo and ensure that whoever is part of the process, whoever is part of the system, adhere to the high standards which are set out for quality delivery. At the end of the day, we're looking for a well-trained people to be able to man our health facilities. And on that score, we cannot just compromise on anything and not allow anything to pass through. We are sticking to the standards. That is why the committee set out is looking into it. That is why the opportunity is given to our brothers and sisters from that end. That is why GTech is doing a meticulous job in looking at the documents. And that is why the entrance to ensure that the rightful place is given out to these prospective students rather than lowering the standard for somebody.
There are concerns about the universities in which you're going to place some of these students, public ones, of course, given the fact that they may be distraught out of the shellings that we witnessed in Ukraine. Some of them a very traumatic experience for them. Is government considering absorbing some fees as well, and some charges as well that may come up in the very final parts of their training as they move into these institutions?
Yeah, as was indicated, the exam that they took it for free. And as I told you, we don't need to jump the gun. Since we'll be meeting tomorrow to look at all these, definitely communication will be made out. And they do have a representative on the committee to look into the issue. But we want the rest of the citizens to be rest assured that we do stand for quality. And that is what we're going for. And that is what we want to achieve at the end of the day. So let's keep our fingers crossed while stakeholders meet tomorrow to look at all the other issues. Definitely communication will be made out to the good people of Ghana to be assured of the process so that we can have a smooth running in terms of ensuring reintegrating our brothers and sisters from that country into our fold.
If there's anything that parents need to be aware of at this moment, what would that message be?
Parents should be rest assured, as indicated. And mind you, the contact wasn't done with students alone. Their parents were greatly involved right from the onset and in getting to where we've got into. So they are abreast with what is within the fold and what government has placed on the table and what the decision should be from their end. And we take it as a whole package to run with. So they should rest assured that we are committed to this process. That is why we've taken it upon ourselves to ensure that we give the rightful education to our brothers and sisters, irrespective of where you're coming from. But again, the standards cannot be lowered for any gains. So we are sticking to it, and definitely at the end of the day, we'll communicate whatever decision which comes out after stakeholders have deliberated tomorrow in bringing closure to the whole issue about the student from Ukraine.
Yao Pokumensa is Deputy Spokesperson at the Ministry of Education. Thank you for your time. We take you now to the Volta region. Angry residents of Ketu South Municipality are today demonstrating against the operations of Seven Seas Company Limited. That's an Indian salt mining firm located in Adina in the Volta region. The residents want government to halt the activities of the company immediately, especially beyond the Adina areas where they've been giving some permit to operate. A middle-aged woman and her 3 children lost their lives a week ago due to the dikes allegedly owned by the company. 6 people have so far died in 2022 as a result of the company's unsafe operations, as has been reported. Here are some sights and sounds of this morning's demonstration for you. Sound there from the Volta region in terms of the protest. Meanwhile, we do understand that the demonstrators who were wrapped up their protest, who actually wrapped up the protest a while ago, also petitioned the municipal chief executive for the area. So we can get some of the concerns they've been raising there in the Ketu South municipality.
I received a petition on behalf of both the regional minister and His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana. As the representative of the President here, I have to help my people to get what they want or what we think is good. I sympathize with the family. I was with them. It's rather unfortunate. The question, what do we do? What do we have to do to resolve these issues? Quickly, I had a music meeting with my security officers. We invited the company. We asked them why they were not able to put the warning signs as we discussed earlier on. And they made us aware that they started from the other side. And truly, when you go there now, there are warning signs. But what is the way forward? Actually, they would have even sealed all those pits if the place is dried, because they started the whole thing during the dry season. I just want to I encourage the people that, as they know, as MC, I inherited both liability and assets, and this is one of the liabilities, which it's not a new thing, it's been there. I came and I'm trying hard. I had several meetings with the paramount chiefs and the stakeholders concerned. As I'm talking to you now, we also have a committee of 9, which will soon give the work to, that comprises of 3 representatives from the 3 paramount seats we have in Ketu South, 3 from the MUSEC, and the 3 from the assembly members. That will go deep into what actually is the problem. As the petitioners raise issue, talking of some illegalities, they'll go into that and see where the illegalities are, what we can do there, and do the corrections.
Well, so that's the DC MC of the Ketu South area, Setyo Mabude, giving some responses to the concerns raised by residents of the area. My colleague Ivy Setochi. Be sure that we'll bring you some updates in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, let's talk about some other developments. Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, earlier Yacob Botchi, has expressed some worry over the abuse of social media platforms and the fact that it's becoming a pervasive threat to democracy. Now, according to the government appointees, some unscrupulous individuals are taking undue advantage of technology and they're using that to sow hate speech in the country and also across the world, where they, of course, go ahead to incite persons to engage in violent acts and also attack people's faith and also subvert elections by both misinformation and disinformation, as well as manipulation of vote counting. Well, Shelley Ayokobochi was speaking during a conference on strengthening democracy towards resilient institutions and issues relating to democracy in Germany, has been indicating the need for systems to check some of these activities.
Perhaps the most pervasive threat to democracy in recent times is the abuse of technology and its processes, especially through social media platforms to sow hate speech in countries and across countries, violence against people and faiths, and subvert elections by both misinformation and disinformation and manipulation of vote counting. More worryingly, some states reportedly not friendly to democracies have been cited for being behind these very effective methods of manipulating electorates and elections. The point here is not that we have not had historically some powerful states seek to influence policy and elections in countries of interest, seeking to buy off trade union or student leaders, for instance. or an editorial page or sponsoring a military coup are light years in effectiveness than what individuals and malign states with their bots do today. They are deadly for democracy.
That's the foreign minister raising some concerns there about social media. So let's get more from Richard Kumar, who happens to be a security analyst. Thank you for your time. So first of all, I'd want to find out of you, from you what you make of these concerns being raised by the minister.
Governments across the globe, I can agree with her. Then social media has also become a tool where easy mobilization of citizens all over the world for demonstrations and for expressing their views. Having said that, the good side of social media is that it also helps governments to project their policies and to communicate with their citizens. In Ghana, in particular, we have a cybersecurity authority, which is in the office of the president, and they have the capacity and the powers to control the social media space in terms of regulation and regulatory compliance. And so I'm wondering why she is saying that. If there are efficiencies, then it is the responsibility of government to ensure that our space is clean. What benefits democracy, what the rights of citizens are, and what the responsibilities of governments are. And we can always meet in the middle. You cannot shut down social media, which has become a tool for marketing of goods and services, for communication, for putting out products, particularly when governments use them, whether for political campaigning or for communicating government policies positively. So there are positive sides and there are negative sides. I'm one of the people who believe that our social media space will have to be clean, and cybersecurity authority in the office of the president have that responsibility. So we will need to look at it, and what we are not doing right, let's begin to address it. But we cannot say social media entirely has become a threat to democracy and government in Africa. Politicians must watch themselves and must also be abreast with the fact that the times we are in, things have changed. And whatever you say, people can always pull it back many years to come, or they can point to you that you are not speaking the truth about some things. And that is what politicians are apprehensive about. Once it's a tool for business and it's a tool where individuals can easily have access, if it is not properly managed and if it is not properly regulated and if it is not properly aligned, it can also become a tool where subversive activities can take place. And you remember in Ghana, this man, Agozo, has been charged for treason because he belongs to a WhatsApp group that certain activities against government were discussed. And I've always said that people must live a hygienic social media lifestyle, because whatever you do on social media, it has ramifications. And whether you're applying for visa, whether you're applying for businesses, there'll be social media due diligence check on you. And that is the responsibility of individuals and corporate organizations. Having said that, governments have taken advantage of social media when it suits them. And so we need to look at what the minister is talking about and to create a benchmark that benefits both sides. I don't think social media has been a threat to Ghana's democracy. I don't think social media has been a major cause of our problems in Ghana. I seriously don't think social media has gotten to a level where it's becoming a threat to governance and political dispensation or democracy in Ghana. I think what we have done rather, data is very expensive, and we might want to look at the speed of our internet, because many businesses are running Ghana on internet these days, marketing, communications, and people are making it on social media. Let's look at the positive side and let's address the negative side that come along. But I can boldly say that we've not gotten to a place where social media has become a major threat to our democracy in this country. Actually, and that is why in our wisdom we established the cybersecurity authority. It used to be a center, but now it's an authority with an appointing authority by the president, and that office is in the office of the president. And they have a duty and a responsibility to ensure that our space is not being abused, even though we are not there to subvert, also not to suppress. Privacy laws will come to play. But I'm just saying that we have a duty and a responsibility, and we are acting properly in that line. That is why government thought it wise to establish the cybersecurity authority. Let's enhance their capacity and make sure they are effective and efficient, and we'll be cool in this country.
Is that something that the youth need to know about social media?
advocate. I wrote several articles. I've done so many trainings on the use of social media, the dangers and the benefits. Yes, of course, there are benefits. It connects people. It's set a platform where you can meet all manner of persons, transact businesses, and engage in social discussion. But then again, there are the negative side where your data and identity could be stolen, and there could be identity theft that could hit you. You remember that minister in Ghana's signature was cloned and used in some other countries for many years. Those are some of the dangers, but I think the youth in particular are happy connecting on social media. We just need to embrace it and educate them and create the awareness, and everybody will be falling in place and security compliance will be achieved.
Richard Kumado is a security analyst. Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you some more stories. Please stay. And you're welcome back. There's a green prediction that pensions will be one of the worst affected if government goes ahead to restructure domestic debts as part of reaching a deal with the International Monetary Fund. The fund has made debt restructuring a precondition to finalize any program with the Republic of Ghana, given the country's current unsustainable debt levels. Speaking on PM Express Monday, banking consultant Dr. Richmond Ituahene warned that restructuring domestic debts will be catastrophic for local banks and will also affect pensions. He urged government to consult broadly to reach a less painful agreement.
Very, very, very serious situation. It's a lesson that we Ghanaians should also learn. When instead of going to productive supporting the economy, we chose to use the lazy bank approach, as you said earlier. Now the consequences is very high. And I believe I have read literature, the literature you have read. I've read it several times, almost 1 month now. And when I look at it, I get frightened.
What frightens you?
What frightens me is that most of the banks are going to go under. Because you talk about, you said in some regulatory financial stability. In some other jurisdiction, they have funds to support the capital. Now you're going to follow on the shareholders to come and support something that has gone bad, which is not their fault, maybe a strategic dichotomy. Then the banks are going to be in serious trouble. And if you remember, Fitch downgraded 3 banks. I went into it and studied it, and I look at their portfolio, and I say, yes, this is the reason why they were downgraded. And if you call your shareholders to come and inject capital for something like this, it will be very, very difficult. So the banking sector is going to face a huge challenge if we apply what I have seen from other jurisdictions. I've read the Zambia one, I've read the Grenada, Barbados, I've even read the Argentina in the 80s. In Argentina case, 75% haircut.
Wow.
So for every 100, you lose 75. How are we going to survive? So that's why I said, if you look at what is happening, we're in a that's why I like your argument, your discussion. There must be a serious transparency. I would have called so many people to discuss this issue because it's going to affect everybody in this country. The pension funds, you know, the major pension fund had so much of government bonds, bills and bonds. And if they were going to say, I don't know how they will continue to even pay the pensioners. So, Evans, we are in a serious, it's more serious than what we experienced in the 2017-2018.
Yeah, in fact.
Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress say they are ever ready to assist government with talks when it comes to the IMF. According to a former finance minister, said Tekpe, the party stands ready to contribute in reaching a broadly acceptable deal, given that such a deal will transcend government. He also spoke on the same show.
They did the math, they did everything, the projection, right? I'm not sure if this Doc was in the team, I can't remember now. But they were there, and they were sure that within 3 to 5 years, ESLA will repay, the debt, which means that within 6 months or so, when of this being done, that debt was removed from the non-performing loan statute, right? So there were benefits that were coming to it. So I'm saying that to the extent, and if you look at the Fitch report, Fitch is now talking about the possibility of debt of the sinking fund. It's going to be zero, being used, to talk to the external, depositors. So I'm saying, yes, the focus is there. We are being told what the difficulty is going to be. Let's keep an open mind, because we can have dialogue, with that. I'm not saying that. That is a critical point.
Very finally, if I bring in Dr. Richmond Chiahin into this. I mean, if the government team or I don't want to call it the government team, the Ghana team, if you're invited to join the Ghana team in this conversation, are you open to do this?
My former president called for a national dialogue. We did a national dialogue at Senchi. So I'm with my president on that point, that the problems require all Ghanaians at the table. We did it. That's what Senchi was all about. We did it with Labour and others. That's what Who and Takrady were all about. So it is not new, to me, and I benefit. I remember out of that process, it was even said that because of homegrown, I was resisting going to the fund, right? Yeah, but my point was that we needed to table the homegrown policy.
I remember that. I was saying to you, and not everybody applauded you for saying that's the point you're making. I remember that. I mean, but
that's where the consensus comes in.
Yes, I agree. But back to the point very briefly. I mean, if you're called to the table, now we are beginning, and say, Seth, join the Ghana team. You're available and you don't mind joining.
I said President Mahama has made that call already. And I believe that he made it in good faith to all Ghanaians to join.
His business has been struggling recently. For the first time in 16 years, he owes his creditors, and they are not making things easy for him. For days, he hasn't recorded any significant sales. As at 10 a.m., no customer has bought any of his brake shafts, and he's worried.
The whole of this year, I've never traveled. I've never bought any items from anybody because I cannot. Anybody that knows me in Abosokan here knows this items is last year. Because the dollar is up, I have to increase them small, bit by bit. The person who will come and buy my items is saying his market is not moving. So he need it, but he cannot afford it to buy. You understand? So the market is choked. From morning 6 till this time around, I should have at least get like almost 5 customers at a go, but it's almost 10 now, not even each customer.
Godfred K. Opon Enterprises was established 6 years ago after he worked as a salesman for 10 years for another spare parts dealer. The business has been booming until the last quarter of 2021. His goods from last year are still on the shelves. Godfred says he has been forced to cut down on the wages of his employees in order to stay afloat.
I used to pay each 1,200 per month. Because of the condition, I have to break it down for them a weekly. I divided 1,200 Ghana, pay them a week.
Okay, because you can't get that amount at the end of the month.
For the end of the month, for all of them, I cannot. I decided to reduce the amount I used to pay them because I cannot sack them. And I had to sit with them because they know what is going on here. If we do sell, they know. Because most of the time, they are here more than me. Okay. So I have to sit with them, talk to them, so that they will understand me, so that I will know how to go with that.
If the cedi continues to fall against the dollar, which makes the cost of spare parts more expensive, Godfred says he may be forced to lay off some workers or further slash wages. One of his employees, Edward, says the cut in wages is affecting his family.
I realized that this time things is hard, so I want to cut some things not help me. I clear off my way. Maybe when I go home, I'll go out with my friends, go chill. That things, I stop that so that I can get money. So this time the money doesn't flow like first.
Kwame Jack, a car mirror dealer, lost 2 customers before midday because they couldn't afford to buy. But he had little control over the matter. Jack adjusted his prices by over 50% because of the escalating dollar rate. His second-hand mirrors range between 300 to 2,000 cedis for a pair.
Challenges me brand new. Last 3 weeks in my fire. Me wo Korora 03 to 07. Me fire na surprise na me fano. The light in me fire 200.
Because of the dollar rate, the prices have soared. Corolla mirrors, which used to sell at 200 cedis, is now 300 cedis, and so I have to increase the price to 350 cedis.
If 300, man, 350. As the first, now I'm finding 200, and I'm the 220, every 230. What they give 230, I 30 Ghana. They say so fit 200, and I quite and Henry account. In teacher said me so me day account. A fit is it 350.
The situation remains the same for Harry, whose family has been dealing in shafts for 25 years. He also blames the rising dollar rate for their bad business.
Now, they don't have money. So if the person, what I'm saying, is spoils, the person might park the car or maybe come for... We have stuff that are not good, like Ghana use. They'll go to other places to get stuff that are not good, you understand? Yeah. So some are coming, but those that they are coming, when you tell them the price, like it has increased, then they will move. Some they will talk, they will drag with you. End of the day, you have to calm down.
Customers too are suffering the brunt of the depreciating cedi. I caught up with an auto electrician who had come to buy a part for a car he was fixing. According to him, the price had doubled from the last time he bought one.
Sometimes I come here to buy alternators, starters, shocks and others. But today, I come to buy Toyota adjuster roller. Initially, it was 40 cedis, but now it's selling at 80 cedis. I tried to negotiate 50 cedis, but they said no.
Well, with fewer customers, some dealers spend their time sleeping or engaging in football discussions.
And of course, if you're also feeling the pinch out there, feel free to share your concerns with us on all of our social media handles. It's at JoyNews on TV. Well, it's time to learn how to code. Well, that's the message being pushed in this year's Ghana Data Science Summit, which is held in Accra somewhere a couple of days ago. Of course, the summit was to create awareness about data science and build capacity in artificial intelligence here in Ghana. There's more in the following report for you.
Artificial intelligence is one of the most transformative technologies that have made strides in industries including retail, healthcare, agriculture, and in banking.
Artificial intelligence is really driving a lot of transformation throughout the world. Myself, I work in retail as a data scientist, so I use machine learning and AI in my daily work. AI can help in agriculture, it can help in health, it can also help in retail. Anything with customer management, personalization, where we want to create a better customer experience for businesses in the financial sector as well as in retail. AI is really playing a lot of role there.
This year's summit sought to empower all attendees to solve societal problems using their knowledge in data science.
I want the students and actually the professionals here, because we have both students and professionals. I want them to go out and work with their organizations, work with their companies, work with their leaders, let them know that this is the new technology and then there is value in this technology. I also want people from here to go out and create their own companies, startups that will use artificial intelligence to solve all the problems that we have. In fact, I just know that there's a lot of problems in Ghana that we can solve with AI, and right now we don't have a lot of people pursuing that. And this news or this message should also go to our leaders and stakeholders, especially the government and business leaders. I think this is a technology that they should pay attention to. It is driving a lot of change throughout the world, and we in Ghana don't want to be left behind.
Every individual can attain knowledge and skills in data science.
What you need to do if you are a doctor or a domain expert is just learn, read more about the technology. Right now there's a lot of information on Google, on YouTube. Just learn more about the technology, and then the problem it will solve. Many people who are data scientists today didn't start as mathematicians. So as long as you have any quantitative background, maybe engineering or even business, once you have a quantitative background and you have passion for this, there are a lot of courses, especially online, where you can learn how to program and then solve the problem.
Parents are entreated to encourage their children to learn to code as the world is changing with technology. So
in Ghana, we need to encourage our children to start from the beginning. That is why the organizations like, I know that the IIPCG, I think Institute of, I think ICT Institute, they have like coding caravans that they are organizing all over the country. We need to encourage our young people to start learning how to code.
Given all the benefits artificial intelligence provides to those who are using it appropriately, what can Ghana do to join the ride?
And of course, that's the big question out there. So let's find out more from Delali Agbenyega, who's with the data science team there at the academic city. And it's good to be speaking to you, Delali, here in the studio. In fact, when we talk about data science, it's just an area that's not fully developed here in our country. So what would be the significance if we push much more resources into it and have all stakeholders from academia and industry join hands to really push data science in this country?
Yeah, thank you. Data science, just for the benefit of our audience, data science here we mean analytics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And I think that in Ghana in particular, there are several things that we are not yet solving with data science. If we are able to invest in that, I see a lot of efficiency in our government. For example, the police, they don't have to be going everywhere at every time, for example.
Tell us about that, because everyone is interested in the police, for instance.
And that's why I actually brought up that example. Because if there is data, if we are collecting data on, for example, the crime areas, or the time of the year or the season of the year and the location where bad things happen, we can strategically deploy our police to really go to this vantage point, and by so doing, we minimize crime rates, which is a benefit to all of us, right? That's an example. Agriculture is one of the big examples too. Right now, people in the villages, they don't even know how to diagnose their crops. But if you have an AI technology, you could program something that can take pictures of their crops. It will tell them what disease the crops are suffering from, as well as recommend, what interventions they need to put in, right? So that's another application in agriculture. I can go on and on, but there are several applications.
But when this comes up, very often many are quick in pointing out to, say, the digital divide, the fact that you don't have access to internet, technology, IT, to the very basic levels and rural communities in our country. So it appears that that could be a challenge for trying to push the data science agenda, isn't it?
Yes, yes and no. I would say yes because in many remote areas, definitely there's a challenge to access the internet. So the solution that I was describing in agriculture, you will probably need an internet because you need to upload the photo into the cloud to get your outcome back. This is where we need a government support. But I also think that we can start from the capital cities. So if you think about Accra, Kumasi, Cape Coast, I think most people have smartphones, right? So we can start from here, and then gradually we can extend the benefit to the other rural areas. And with the government support, having a center that will be dedicated to maybe the progress of machine learning and AI, I believe we can have some progress.
And it appears to me that there are, immense opportunities when it comes to, for instance, job creation. The issue of unemployment has been bedeviling our country. The belief is once we show up that investment into data science, there could be more opportunities for our graduates. How can that be materialized?
Yes, absolutely. So if we are able to work with industry, academia, partnerships, and we are training students that actually have skills to deal with real life data, and then they are out of school, a lot of these companies can actually employ them. Business decision making using data is huge. So for example, I work in retail, I work for Shopify, and you will be amazed how much money we save for this company just by making data-driven decisions. So take any retail, for example. We buy a lot of things and put in the shops. People don't come to buy them, they get spoiled, we throw them away. If you employ a data scientist, for example, he can predict or forecast how much of each of your items you need to put on shelf at every
just using the technology.
Just using the technology, right? And then with that, you can save a lot of money by making sure that you minimize spoilage. At the same time, you make sure that you don't have empty shelves when customers are coming in looking for things. This is an example in retail. In banking, there's huge applications. There's a lot of fraud. Now that we have a lot of mobile money, I heard the other time that there's a lot of fraud going on with the mobile money. But you can use machine learning and AI to actually predict or check every transactions and in real time give a signal if it's truly,
But what you're talking about sounds very easy to some who may be watching us now. But there's also the challenge about faculty and availability of opportunity for the youth to learn and enroll onto platforms that will teach them about data science. How common are these platforms in our country?
That's another huge opportunity area in my opinion. So even though there's a lot of individual YouTube channels or call it online courses that people can take, those do not go deeper in showing even more hands-on. I think the opportunity in my opinion here is for industry and the academia to partner. I personally think that the universities need to modify their syllabus. They need to bring more practical data science courses, coding into their curriculum. With that, we'll be able to truly have the training in the school, and with industry academia partnership, we can have some of the students learning by working on real projects from the companies, and with that we can create the capacity that's needed for these students to work.
Government, for instance, is talking about the digitalization agenda. How do we situate data science into all of that?
Yeah. So data science is definitely a small component of digitalization. I think it all comes down to making sure that everything we are doing, we are using the technology. Because for us to analyze data, we need the data. And for us to create data, we need the software. So the Ghana card is a really huge example.
Yes.
Think about the Ghana card for a moment. With the Ghana card, we will know everything about you. Basically, we will know your health insurance, we
your
will know your bio, everything. We will know your location, assuming our address system is good. So, which means that with that, so that's part of the huge digitalization, for example, for Ghana. If we have that, we can actually understand the various demographic groups, their needs, how often they go to the hospital, what kind of sicknesses are really common in certain areas of the city or in the country, and it really put in the right doctors in the right hospitals to take care of those. So digitalization is huge. Data science is an aspect of that. But you are right, we need to start from the foundations, which is making sure that we have systems that are recording the data. We have the data available for people to truly analyze.
And there's this notion, as we wrap up on this conversation, about the Ghanaian students as compared to someone studying elsewhere in Europe. The feeling that, well, it's much more of a white man's thing when we're talking about data science, and that the African may not be that endowed to even go into such an area. What do you say to people who walk up to you and say, well, it would really be a huge task for us to push the data science agenda here in Ghana?
Yeah, in fact, that was the reason why we formed the Ghana Data Science Summit, which was first held in 2019. And so this was our third edition. Truly, if you go to the United States, I did my master's there, and other parts of the world, like in the UK, you can see that they are way ahead of us in terms of data.
They are way ahead.
They are way ahead of us. But we have a lot of good talent here in the country. I believe that we can actually work and really grow the talent. Yeah, questions around data is for the the white man or things like that. I think those are all things that they are not really true. We need to create the awareness. So
if anyone is listening to me, my message to you is that data science is for everyone. Anybody that's making a decision based on a fact is doing data. When you see a car crossing, you don't cross the road when you see a car coming. Yeah. Why? Because you see the car coming. So that's a data point. You are making a decision to not cross the road.
Because you have the information.
Because you have the information. Right. So if you broaden it, that's what data science is. You have some information, you leverage it to make a decision that will be in your favor. That's all data science is about. So can we say that, it's a white man's thing to not cross the street when they see a car coming? We cannot, right? But it's just like broadening that to the bigger scope.
Delali, I'm sure we'll continue this conversation sometime later, but thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. And of course, we're also looking at this. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has charged critics actually of government as issues relating to the spend time and also ask as well as read relevant questions before criticizing various projects it is undertaking. Of course, according to the Vice President, many of government's political appointees often cast doubt on the viability of the Sino-Hydro projects which government has initiated. There's more in this report.
Of 22 kilometers of roads, according to government, have been completed as part of the Sino-Hydro project. According to the Vice President, the roads that were selected in Cape Coast were in poor conditions when they were chosen, while many of them were unmotorable during the rainy season. Dr. Bawumia says government could not have chosen a better investment in the lives of the people than this. He called on critics of government to read and seek understanding of government activities before they criticize.
Today marks yet another day of the commissioning of yet another Sino-Hydro project, Fili. Unfortunately for some of our opponents, when we say something and they don't understand, instead of asking for an explanation and also reading about it, they don't like to read. They don't want to ask for explanation. They just say you are lying. But today, as we commissioned the Omwaye, they are silent. They are no longer saying it's not possible. A total of 441 kilometers of roads and 2 interchanges are to be constructed. The objectives of the projects are to enhance intra-urban, regional, and national traffic flow, trade, and strengthen regional economic integration. I was privileged to perform the sword cutting for this important project on 21st November 2019. The commencement of the project was on 20th December 2019 for completion in 30 months. The project was duly completed on schedule. Nananum, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we can see, the completion of the project has improved accessibility within the beneficiary communities in Cape Coast.
Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amoakwanta, indicated that part of the budget of the urban roads would be set aside to maintain the investment of roads government had done. He says the Ministry of Roads and Highways strategy is to increase the percentage of roads in good condition by undertaking various periodic maintenance activities.
The Department of Urban Roads shall make adequate provisions in its annual budgets from now onwards for the maintenance of these roads yet to be commissioned. Ladies and gentlemen, this is necessary to protect the government's massive investment in this sector and in these roads in particular. I therefore urge the Municipal Assembly to support us in enforcing bylaws aimed at protecting such a valuable public asset.
Chinese ambassador to Ghana, Lu Kun, justified why China would choose Ghana any day to invest in. Some motorists spoke to JoyNews.
For years, China has been actively supporting and constantly provided assistance to Ghana in many ways. Through China's aid, financing, investment, and the contracting of projects, we have been building strong ties between the two nations. The China-aided Jamestown Fishing Port project, Phase 2 of the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho project, the annex building of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the regional integration are well underway. All these projects are Chinese government-aided projects. All these projects are aimed to promote Ghana's economic and the well-being of Ghanaian people.
Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejonya-Akon, Cape Coast.
Well, and that's all we have for you. But before we go, we also do need to indicate that public health actors bemoaning the lack of funds to fight and promote issues of environmental health in the country. According to them, the absence of a centralized ministry responsible for public health makes it difficult to access funds. The situation, they say, is suffocating the aim to make Accra clean. They are calling for the passage of the National Health Sanitation Bill, which amongst other things is expected to harmonize activities of public health actors in the country. Michael Ashali now reports.
World Environmental Day is celebrated on 26th of September every year to put the spotlight on the crucial work done by environmental health workers. This year, the day was celebrated under the theme Strengthening Environmental Health Systems for the Implementation of Sustainable Development Goals. Public health activities in Ghana are split among 3 ministries and largely uncoordinated. According to Environmental Health Metro Director for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Florence Kuchi, the situation is making it difficult to properly deal with the worsening sanitation problem in Accra.
We are supposed to be under local government ministry. That is our mother ministry. But as it stands now, we do not even have a desk there to say that this desk is for environmental health workers, that there will be a supervisory head there who will champion environmental health issues at the departmental, ministerial or interagency collaboration aspect. So this has been a very big issue. This gap is really having a big pinch on the environmental health officer when it comes to how we implement our duties in the country. So Ministry of Local Government doesn't do any budgeting for us, nor does Ministry of Sanitation does any budgeting for us. When you go to Ministry of Sanitation, the head is there without a body. Then you come to local government, the body is there without a head. How can only body work without a head, nor a head work without the body? So as time is going on, if care is not taken, the name environmental health is going to phase out. And if it is phased out, it's going to have a very big havoc to the country and the people as a whole.
Without a supervisory agency, the aim to make Accra the cleanest city in the sub-region will remain on paper. Director of Waste Management at the AMA, Ninoy Norte, explains why.
On this day, we are re-emphasizing. Now we are torn between 3 ministries and we become orphans. They are supposed to carry our budgets along and then budget for our logistical needs and retooling to be able to perform efficiently. Then comes the sanitation ministry also. Yes, they are in charge of sanitation. Then MESTI will also come and say, yes, we are also in charge of electronic waste management and then plastic waste management. So now you see the 3 mothers, so to speak. When we need logistics, like vehicles, as it is raining and you need to go undercover and grab those who are dumping the waste in the drains. You can't walk in the rain.
Lecturer at the Accra School of Hygiene, Michael Afodope, is asking Parliament to pass the National Health Sanitation Bill. According to him, the bill, if passed, will resolve issues of supervision and greatly sharpen the focus to deal with sanitation.
I was calling for us to all join our voice together on the advocacy for us to create the National Sanitation Authority as a matter of urgency, because when that authority is actually created, or that bill is passed into an act, it will help to centralize the National Sanitation Authority bill. When it is passed into an act, it will help to centralize all environmental health activities under one umbrella, so that staff at the local government service, those at the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, anyone performing an environmental health sanitation activity will be responsible to this particular authority, and I'm sure that will address all these structural gaps.
Public health agents are also calling on government to retool environmental health officers to effectively discharge their duties. For JoyNews, Michael Ashale.
And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. You'll have updates on our stories there.